Remind yourself in your offices and in your life, if you're a master communicator, then you got to make sure that you commit to the vitality track and not the cancer track. Do you remember what the difference was between those two? I'll give you a little reminder here. The cancer track is what most people do who destroy their relationships, their businesses, and their personal life. And what it is, when we have an expectation and it doesn't get met, what kind of state do we usually go into? Depressed, what else? Frustrated, angry, disappointed, disillusioned, what else? Hurt, okay? And we go into the basically emotional states that we've got patterns of going into. Most people have a disillusioned state or hurt or angry. What's the first thing most people do? As soon as they got an upset, they immediately look for somebody to lay blame on. True or false? True. And does that usually make it better, yes or no? Does that build a better team? Does that create a quality environment with quality communication and quality results, yes or no? No way. And by the way, people don't just blame, like, let's say, the doctor or their staff members. Most people do blame others, but some people just blame themselves. Does blaming yourself motivate you to really become better? Rarely. And some people don't blame themselves, they blame circumstances. Well, it's not my fault, it's because this and this and that. You know, the truth of the matter is we can always find a reason why something isn't working. But the bottom line is we have to be responsible for the results. Now, what do some people do? They go, okay, well, now that I'm done laying blame, that's not enough. I'm angry, and I need to make sure I feel justified, so they go to step 2. They justify and complain to other people. Go out there and subgroup. We talked about this before. Now, how many have seen this happen in your office amongst anybody in the last 60 days? Let's see some honest hands. How does it feel, again, when somebody, let's say, talks behind your back? When somebody subgroups, and 2 people get together and say, oh, so-and-so's there. How does that feel to you? Yeah. If you keep doing that, what's going to be the ultimate impact on your relationships? It's going to destroy them. It's going to screw them up royally. You've got to stay out of that place and promise yourself and commit not to subgroup. And if you've got an upset, who should you handle that upset with? That person directly. Third thing people do is after they get enough people, and they all say, yeah, I'm upset too. By the way, what are your chances of finding somebody else who's upset? Somebody else whose expectations are not been met. What's the chances of finding somebody like that? About 100%. Right? It's called life. Then what happens? You get these people together and you sit down and resent and brew, right? And get worse and worse and more angry until finally what somebody does is usually confront somebody. And they say, look, I was honest, and they didn't respond. Confronting is not the style we want to use. And lastly, what most people do is after they confront is they give up and seek revenge. We don't want to do that. We want instead, as master communicators, to go for the alternative we talked about last time, which is the vitality track, which is where you get excited and appreciate the feelings that you're having. Where immediately you say, okay, I got these feelings, they're intense, I feel angry or upset. That's exciting. I need to appreciate the fact that my brain is telling me that I need to change something. Because we all found out last time, negative emotions are a signal. They're a call to what? Do you remember? Action. If you got negative emotions, something's hurting. What it's saying to you is you need to change either the way you're looking at this, your perception, or you got to change your actions. The way you're doing it, the way you're communicating, the way you're making requests. So if you're feeling negative feelings, you don't want to feel bad about it. You want to say, okay, this is great. This is my brain trying to give me a note. I need to get curious about what is it that I really need right now. And I need to think of what else could this situation mean. I'm really upset about it, but what else could it mean? Maybe the doctor raising his voice to me, or her voice to me, isn't they don't care about me. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe I ought to see if I can support that person. Maybe I need to soften the way I'm feeling about this and not say I'm devastated, but say, you know, I'm a little frustrated with the way they're treating me. Maybe I need to go and communicate as soon as possible to that person that, you know, I know they have good intent, and I'd really appreciate it if they'd change their style of communicating with me because it just doesn't feel good, and I want to support them. And if I do that enough and I focus on meeting this person's needs, I'm going to probably meet my needs. So as a master communicator, what we're doing is controlling meaning, and we're making sure that when we have negative emotions, we don't see them as a negative. We see them as a call to action, a chance to change.
We spend a lot of time talking about mindset from the standpoint of think positive so positive things happen. And I do believe in having a positive mindset, obviously. I think that the actions that you take are way more important in terms of developing that mindset. But we don't spend enough time on what you were just talking about, which is understanding how the automatic nature of worrying about stuff all day long, how that is making you less money, how it is making you less happy, how it is disconnecting you from your spouse, how it is keeping you unhealthy, and how it is a habit that robs you of joy and opportunity and power. And it is one of the easiest habits to break. Number one, your life happens in 5-second windows. Number two, in 5 seconds, you can control what you think, you can decide what you're going to do, and you can change absolutely anything, which changes absolutely everything. And so the 5-second rule is a mind trick. That's all that it is. A fancy way to call it is it's a form of metacognition, but it's basically a hack. It's a cheat code.
Okay.
And the way that it works, and this is the challenge with getting it out there, is that it sounds so profoundly stupid, like a gimmick, that it took a while for people to actually take it seriously.
I get that.
And to really stack up the science to make, anybody that interacts with it go, holy shit, like this actually works.
Yeah.
So here's what it is. Basically, the moment you catch yourself hesitating or doubting or starting to worry or about to chicken out or shrink or shut up or whatever it is that you're about to do that is shrinking your power, you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What happens when you do that? Don't do it out loud because it'll scare somebody, like a psycho. And I mean, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm talking. Yes, exactly. No.
My turn.
Yes, exactly. Although I say it's so simple that people use it with their kids.
This is a Saturday Night Live skit in the making, right?
Totally.
I can see this.
I would love that because that means I've really made it.
True.
Your kids will use it on you. So my kids will use it on me. So if I have a certain tone that comes out, I'll hear my 12-year-old go 5, 4, 3. Watch that tone, Mom. Just or Mom, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I thought you were going to go to the gym. Yes. So by counting backwards, the kind of cheat code that you're doing in your mind is you are interrupting what are called habit loops that get encoded in the central part of your brain. And you are starting up the prefrontal cortex. It's a little trick that causes focus, and it's a lot like having a mantra because you're shifting gears. But the thing about having a mantra is, and I suppose that as you count backwards more and more and more, you become used to it, but it becomes a habit that triggers action. So what you do is go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cut off this part of the brain, awaken this part of the brain, and then move. And what happens with the counting backwards is there's nowhere to go after 1. And your mind is socialized in a countdown situation to go.
Yep.
And so counting up won't work because you can keep
go
going.
Forever.
And you do it in many aspects of your life, so it's actually not something that requires any focus.
The game of business is an infinite game, right? It obeys all the rules. There are known and unknown players. You don't know all the competitors necessarily in one industry to another. The rules are changeable. We haven't all agreed what the rules are. And there is no winning the game of business, right? The game just perpetuates. In fact, the game of business has existed longer than every single company on the planet today, and it will outlast every single company on the planet today. If you look at the Dow Index of 30-something odd companies that make up the Dow Index, something like 70 or 80% of those companies are 35 years or younger, right? So it gets me thinking, if you listen to the language that companies use, they don't know what game they're in. They talk about being number one. Talk about beating their competition based on what agreed upon criteria, based on what agreed upon time frame. Is it market share? Is it profits? Is it revenues? Square footage, number of employees? Over what? 1 month? 5 months? 6 months? A year? 5 years? 10 years? The life of the company? I haven't agreed to those rules. And so companies can arbitrarily declare themselves number one in anything they want if they set the standards and the time frames. And the only reason we do these things on an annualized basis, we tend to compare ourselves to other organizations annually, is only because we pay taxes annually. If we paid taxes every 18 months, that would be sort of the standard. But again, we still haven't agreed what the metrics are to be number one. That means the companies that are playing the infinite game are playing against most of the others who are playing the finite game, means those finite companies find themselves in quagmire. Almost Every single bankruptcy, not almost every single bankruptcy is a company that's run out of the will or the resources to play. They drop out of the game. The game will persist. Another company will fill their space. It's not like the business stops or the industry ends. And the companies that are playing the infinite game will frustrate those finite players, which I absolutely adore. So I spoke at an education summit for Microsoft. I also spoke at an education summit for Apple. Now, I would say about 70 to 80% of the executives at Microsoft spent about 70 to 80% of their PowerPoints talking about how to beat Apple. At the Apple Summit, 100% of the executives spent 100% of their presentations talking about how to help teachers teach and how to help students learn. One was obsessed with their journey, with their vision, with their cause. The other one was obsessed with their competition. Guess who's stuck in quagmire? Guess who's frustrated by their competition?
Let me tell you, in order to have something different, you are going to have to do something different. In order to have something more, you have to do something you haven't done yet. I had to say the things I didn't want to say, do the things I didn't feel like doing to have the life I know I wanted. Period. Period. And all I did was give instructions for here, do this bite size, do this bite size, do this bite size. Bite size, digestible, palatable pieces of what you can do. Does that sound good, you guys? And when you look up, and you don't have to have a magnificent change over 12 months, have a small change over 30 days, and then a small change over 30 days, your breakthrough will come in needlepoint moves. And you'll look up in 5 years and not recognize your life.
Follow your passion first. First. When I retired from the game, I sat there asking kind of all the wrong questions. What's the biggest industry I can get into? And it's all the wrong stuff. And you got to sit there and ask yourself, okay, what am I truly passionate about? What do I enjoy doing? And when you feel that way, honestly, you feel like you have never worked a day in your life. It's the most fun thing in the world. You get up in the morning excited about what you're doing. And you got to be really honest with yourself about it. If you wake up in the morning and you're dreading going to work, dude, do something else. Right. Do something else. And those are hard decisions to make. But when you make those decisions, it's a very liberating experience. And you find out that the rewards will come.